非常になれそう。白い鱗の大じゃ。そう私にちょうだい。これから空高く飛び立つ鷹の目にな。
So, let me get this straight. Another dude wants another dude's body? Well, yeah. No. That's weird.
Hey everybody, Blandon Collectibles here, back for another statue unboxing review for you. Today's going to be focused on a Sasuke statue by one of the most famous licensed studios out there that does Naruto statues, Ryu Studios. If you're unfamiliar with licensed studios, they have to own the license in specific territories to be able to distribute them. And with this country, they only had the license for Asia, so it was near impossible or freaking expensive to import these in the United States when they released. Right in front of us, we have the first of 3 bases. They included, 3 total bases are included, and there's all sorts of color coding markings that go around the bottom trim of the base and also on the Orochimaru's snake part of the base. Overall though, I really love what they did with this base. So you can see how they sculpted so many different snakes because Orochimaru's body is, technically a bunch of snakes joined together to make one large snake. So they really did accomplish that feel that we got to see in the show with all those different small snake heads that we see. And in the back, we'll see a steel rod with a notch. That's going to support the larger, more main head of Orochimaru. And then we also have another little notch later where Sasuke is going to stand on. Sculpted separately on the bottom trim of the base is going to be these little pieces that remind you of the hideout that he was in, that he was doing all his training and preparing. Again, we'll have that color coding, so this is the black piece, but great little details on that. It really do make it feel like he is in that hideout. Because your time is precious, we're going to go ahead and speed through getting these installed on here. Really they sculpted these separately to be sure that as it shipped, it had less opportunity for things to break. There's a few that I did install before I did the recording as well. And here is his main head. This thing is so menacing and crazy looking. We'll see that theme continuing here with the snakes surrounding that notch where the steel rod's going to insert itself into. And then as we go up kind of the spine of this thing, really great details how they brought this out. You'll notice again, there's that color coding. There's a white one right there. That's where another snake is going to be sculpted separately that we'll attach to later with the magnets. The hair sculpt on this thing is crazy as well. And if we zoom in on the face, man, they did such a great job with the eyes, the tongue, the mouth, the teeth. The thing is creepy looking, like straight up creepy looking. So they accomplished what they should have with sculpting him perfectly, if that's the case. You have to watch out for that little tongue that's extremely fragile and thin. Really cool to get to see this in this form because in the show this happened so quickly that you don't get to appreciate some of the details, and I feel like Ryu Studios really did bring it to life. Down in the place, I'll show you a few of the snakes they sculpted separately. Now, every single one of them they sculpted in different positions. You can see this one has more of a mouth open and it's going all over the place. So the thing that I can appreciate for them is they did do, again, multiple different sculpts for all the snakes. They didn't copy and paste anything. So they spent the time really sculpting things together. Again, that tongue sticking out. Be careful with those, extremely fragile. And then on the face here, we can see this is the closed. So they have a nice mixture of probably like 4 or 5 of the open mouth and about 3 or 4 of these closed ones. Again, for speed and simplicity, we're going to zoom through getting these installed onto here. I really do appreciate how this kind of takes the base to a whole nother level too, because we have the main snake body that's going to be wrapping around, but these do add a whole other flavor to the overall statue once it all comes on. Still unbelievable, like I said, that they sculpted 3 different bases, and I will mention as well that there's 2 different Sasuke sculpts that they did for the statue, but overall, I love this base. This is going to be my favorite of the 3 that they sculpted, probably the more elaborate, so it's going to be very apparent why this is the favorite once you get to see the other 2. Before we move on, there's a small section over here that you can pull out. It attaches itself with a magnet. That's where one of the pegs or the steel rods in Sasuke's foot's going to go for one of the sculpts, and his other one is not going to need it, so there's that plug that hides it. Phew, in my time unboxing, there are rarely times where I can say that somebody sculpted Sasuke to look perfectly, but this studio really did accomplish that. We'll see some nice texturing going on there on the legs. We also have some on this other one as well. We saw that steel rod that was in the bottom of the foot here, but great texturing, so you can see more of a flat tone is used for that charcoal looking, and then for the blue in the jacket. This is not glossy, but there's a kind of a semi-gloss going on there just to showcase different textures. This part of the rope belt and his sword case is going to be be sculpted separately as well. We have the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Very dynamic pose though overall. This thing is crazy how they sculpted it. His hand is in a nice grip position to hold that sword, and moving him around to the front here, we can see the face is absolutely on point. And Sasuke's hair is one of the hardest things to sculpt in statues. I swear, that is the one thing I see people mess up on most commonly. I don't feel like they did that at all here. But we can see him looking extremely serious, right? This is the moment where Orochimaru is trying to steal his body, so he is really intense, trying to fight back to be sure that he does not allow that to happen. As mentioned, the sheath for his sword was sculpted separately with that rope piece. So there's going to be two magnets, one on the sheath of the sword, another on that purple rope piece. So that's very easy to install onto there, just snaps right into place. And then also, y'all know I love when they use real metal for swords. That's what they did here. It really takes care of the integrity of the sword over time to be sure it doesn't warp, but it also has an awesome feel to it. You could probably slice a little bit through paper if you wanted to. It's not too sharp, but you could definitely stab through it with the point on there. As I said, this just snaps right on in, and we'll go ahead and get him installed right onto the base. Excuse me as I struggle a little bit. This is the pose that only uses one peg and one foot, so we don't need to have that removable scale taken off. We'll slide that sword in here. But this is probably the most scene-accurate version that you could use if you really want to bring to life that scene kind of before he turns into the CM2, is jumping away. But awesome. I love how dynamic this feels overall. And here we have the second base that was included. These are pretty heavy because they need to hold the weight of the character up top. But we'll see there's only one notch in here. So this one is only made for the pose that we just went over and reviewed. It's not going to be able to hold or house the second pose as well. But lots of little details to just make it look like a nice little rock section. So it's not taken from Orochimaru's hideout. But this one over here is a nice artistic interpretation of, you know, kind of similar to this first base, just another branch off of it. We have a stone looking snake here. But this one is made to hold both the first and the second. We'll see there's a place for the tongue we're going to install later, but all sorts of cracks and crevices and moss. Look how realistic this looks over here, like a mossy growing on the side of the rock. Notice the section here is where one of the steel rods goes, and also on the tip of the nose is where the other would go as well. So we'll slide this on back, and then I'll showcase real quick. Here's the tongue that they sculpted separately as well. There's a tiny little magnet at the very end of it that allows it to attach on there very simply, but again, sculpted separately so it doesn't break. All right, so with those two shown, I will show you kind of more so how they're used later, and you can interchange them if you want. And here we have the second pose or second form, which is the Curse Mark II CM2 Sasuke coming in. Probably one of my favorite forms in the entire series. We do not get to see it enough. We have similar texturing to the one before. Obviously, his kind of jacket or what he was wearing before is going to be removed for this section here. And then on the bottom section, we'll see these notches with magnets in there. Those are going to hold the sleeves of that top jacket section so that they're kind of freely flowing in the wind there. And if you notice on the back side up top there, right, we have some steel rods that are poking out of the back, color-coded so you know which wing is going to go where. But those are huge steel rods to make sure that those are securely stayed in place, which they do. It's one of the best things they did with the statues, how secure everything feels when you put it together. But oh my gosh, the face looks so incredible, man. They did such a good job. You have that black star looking mark in there. Obviously, the teeth looking extremely intense. His eyes, amazing looking. Gosh, that hair, right? This is the hair that I love to see in this series. Kind of reminds me of Madara and how his hair is. The sheath for this body is a little different. We don't have a rope section on. We just slide it in and it magnetizes with one little notch. And then we have, again, those sleeves that just pop right into place. Because we have that alternative base right here in the background, we'll go ahead and attach him to this one so we can see how it looks all together. But of course, we do need to go ahead and look towards the back side of this to install those giant wings, which holy moly did they do a great job with. One of the first things I will say is how lightweight these are. You would expect for something that has such a giant piece like this, it'll be heavy, but it's not. It's really lightweight. They did a great job. We'll see that metal bracket right there that's going to attach to those steel rods, and then just the creepiness that goes along with this wings, right? If you get up close, if you haven't seen this before, it's disgusting, right? You have all these sort of fingers and long fingernails that are protruding from the different pieces. This is just, it's one of the most disgusting things that we see in the show that you rarely get to see up close in person. But there's that. So we'll get this ring installed. They're a little tough to get into place. You got to get it kind of exactly into position. So it does take me a little bit to get those in there. But once they are in there, they are so stinking secure. Massive. That is the one word that I would use to describe these wings. The span that they go in, man, it's incredible how they sculpted all this together and how dynamic it is. But let's take a look at this from the front side. Lastly, we have to get those arms sculpted onto there. So this one is more plain, just outreaching, nothing connects to it. There's just a magnet inside of there. Got those fingers all spread out. So this is more of the boring hand of the two. And the second here is sculpted. I love the reverse grip that Sasuke uses, or it's kind of like a reverse grip form, a way to hold a sword. It's one of my favorite forms when somebody does hold it, and they capture that perfectly here. So it goes right behind them. And that other arm, oh my gosh, I love it. This is my favorite form they included with the statue, right? It's undeniably cool, the CM2 version of Sasuke. And you know how BAM does? I love to showcase what card I would display next to the statue. Now, this statue today is being hosted by somebody else, so it's not mine to own. They're lending it to me. And I want to say a special thanks to Aiden Yamamoto. They sent these cards to my P.O. box today. So rather than open up a pack, I want to show you these crazy amount of cards that were sent to me. If you're not aware, I do have a P.O. box that accepts, any kind of deliveries that you want to send, something fun that I can showcase on the channel. And it's huge thanks, right? This is an incredible amount of foils. If you're not interested in this, again, I have timestamps on my videos where you can kind of skip and not lug through these, but I was absolutely blown away at the amount of foils that I was sent here. There's so many different ones that I don't have for my personal collection. Over time, I would love to own, all the Naruto cards that they ever printed. That's a huge thing to be able to do. But if you're out there and you have Naruto cards that you don't want anymore and you want to get rid of them, hey, send them on my way. I'd love to add them to the collection. And for those that have a larger Naruto collection, maybe with some more expensive cards that you'd love to trade, I'm always in the market to look to possibly trade a statue for groups of cards if there's a lot of rarity included or super rares in there. But just an incredible amount of foils that we have here. I had to split the deck into two. I couldn't hold it all at one time. And if you're not aware, you only get one foil per pack. So this is technically a lot of packs that was included or donated. Thank you so much. Oh, look at this one. This is like kind of has like a Chinese writing on there, Japanese. That's incredible looking right there. The foils though, man, I can't believe, right? Only one per pack sometimes. And there's just so many that we're taking a look at here today. Aiden, if you're watching this and hoping that's how you pronounce it, please hit me up on Instagram or comment below. I'd love to thank you in person, right? This was such a pleasant surprise to be able to check out, but we're about towards the end of this. I try to speed through as fast as possible. There's just so many cards to look at that were provided here today. And there's the last one. But in case you need my information, here is my P.O. box info right here on the right side. Feel free to send stuff my way. I'd love to showcase it on the channel. Thank you so much again. Now quickly, let's take a look at the different poses and forms you can use on each of the bases here. Man, what amazing options that they included here. Such a nice touch to have so many different bases, and the fact that they give you two Sasukes alone is absolutely incredible. So again, here's my ultimate preferred base. If this was mine and I had to choose how to display it, that would be mine, and here are them two side by side. Let me know, what combination would you display most if you had to only choose one base and one Sasuke pose? Another day, another amazing statue showcase. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you in the next. As always, everybody, do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.